Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboycowboy, and in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to negotiate construction contracts. Coming up. Hi, this is Dr. Ernesto, and on this channel, we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. Now today, I'm going to show you how to negotiate construction contracts. As I mentioned in my other video, I recently had a big fire, so I'm doing a lot of reconstruction. And on top of that, I manage and I run other buildings, so construction is a normal part of my life. As well as doing my medical work, I do construction work and management work, etc. So I've learned some skills that I want to share with you. And this is one of the most important ones: how to negotiate construction contracts. Now, my friend was asking me, hey, I need to remodel my kitchen. How do I go about it? How do I know how much that costs? How do I know if I'm getting a good deal? That's a good question, because there really is no set price for a lot of this stuff. It's very subjective. So what I recommend is, let's say you have to redo your garage. Right now I'm remodeling a garage. I go on the internet and I'll call like 4 or 5 contractors, and then I'll have them come out and they'll give me a bid. You really want to meet with them and ask them a lot of questions and ask them to explain the process of how they're going to go about rebuilding your garage, and ask them if they see any difficulties with your garage, any like problems or anything like that. Now this is very valuable because they're going to teach you what needs to be done. So you're going to have a better understanding of what exactly needs to be done to rebuild that garage. Now, as you get more and more people coming over to give you bids, they're going to give you a slightly different story, but generally it should be the same. You're going to get people that are going to come and they're going to give you a totally different story about how it should be done. Those are the ones you don't want to hire. Those are the ones that don't really know what they're doing. And a lot of times people are posing as contractors. So make sure you check their license. Have them show you a license number, look it up on the internet, and compare it with their ID, because that's another thing. People use other people's IDs. I would say probably half the time the people tell me they have contractor's license, they don't have one, or they're using someone else's. Now that could be an issue if they don't know what they're doing and you want to go after them because they did bad work. You won't be able to recover any of your money because they don't have a license. It's just some guy that will just disappear. You'll never hear from again. So if you're looking for someone with a license, make sure they have a license. If you're not looking for people with a license, that's cool. Just make sure they know what they're doing by asking a lot of questions. Number one, you're gonna have people come over and explain to you the process and how much they're gonna charge and what is included in that charge. That's gonna give you a better idea of what is entailed in this project, okay? Number two, you wanna look at the bids. And let's say somebody tells you $30,000, another guy says 50, another says 10, another one says 40. We'll take the average. So you know it's somewhere around maybe 20,000. So then you contact all those guys and you say, hey, you know obviously the guy for 50 is way out of the ballpark. The guy for 10, you want to make sure that he's including everything. Sometimes they'll give you a low ball offer and then later on try to tack on stuff. You don't want that either, because they're going to price gouge you. They'll give you a low entry price to get you in the door. Then once you start construction, they're like, hey, I never said I was going to do that. Or I didn't say that. I never said I was going to put a garage door on it. And you're like, hey, well, it's obvious. It's a garage. I need a garage door. They're like, yeah, but I never said I was going to give you a garage door, build that, or include that in the price. So you want to be very specific when you write your contract, line by line. Garage, 4 walls, 3 windows, on one on the east side, one on the west side, one on the south side. Garage door, 8 by 10 feet, 3 light fixtures, 2 light switches, insulation, no insulation. Be very specific. As much as you can think, write it down. That's why when you're talking to different contractors, take notes on what they're saying, on what is needed. That way you'll know what you want to put in your contract. And you also don't want to have problems, because sometimes it's a simple misunderstanding. It's not always the contractor trying to take advantage of you. They may assume that you know something, you may not know that, or you may assume that he thinks something. So don't make any assumptions. That's going to lead to problems. Make sure you're very clear. Write everything out and get a price. So talk to the guy for 10 grand, talk to the guy for 20,000, talk to the guy for 30,000. Offer them a bid maybe 20% below what they offered you and negotiate from there. If you go too low, it's going to upset people. So I don't do that. I don't recommend that because they're going to think you're taking advantage of them. So if someone's offering you 30 grand and you tell them, you know, $10,000 or something, that may be a fair price. They might be trying to price gouge you, so you could try that. But if you know the job is worth 30,000 and you're offering them like 10,000, that's not a good deal. Again, so you want to be fair. Look at the prices. Guy at 50,000 is probably too high, but figure out what he's including. He may be including a lot more than the other guys. His price may actually be cheaper. The guy for 10,000 is probably trying to price gouge you and just get the job, get you in the door, and then start adding on a bunch of stuff. The guys in the middle are probably more along with the prices, but you can negotiate with all three of them. And while you're negotiating them, you can find out. You know, it may be that garage really only costs $10,000 to build. If you write that line item agreement out and he agrees to it, maybe that's what it costs. Maybe the other guys are all trying to price gouge you. So you definitely need to get multiple bids and then talk to them and learn what the process is so that you know what it includes. If you talk to the guy for 50 and he says, hey, I also have to do the driveway, I have to do the floor for the garage, I have to do around the garage, the walking path, and you're like, hey, I never thought about that. I was just thinking about the garage. This guy brought up a good point. You talk to the guy for 10 grand and he says, hey, that's not part of the deal. I wasn't including any of that. You could tell him, okay, well, how much extra would it be to include that? That's definitely something that I'm gonna need done to finish this project. So make sure that you include everything that is needed in the project. This is a really easy thing to do, and it's vital. Like, this has been one of my keys to success with construction. If you just talk to one guy, even though he's your favorite guy and he might do great work, you're putting yourself at a big disadvantage because you don't know what this kind of work actually costs. And if you're going to be doing a lot of construction, you need to start to understand how this process works and get a gauge for something. Like, example, somebody says, hey, my garbage disposal just busted. You know, and you want to quote the tenant how much it is to fix it. Well, I kind of have an idea. I know garbage disposal costs between 80 and 120 bucks, and I knew the labor's about $50 to $100. So I'll probably tell them, hey, it's about $220 to repair that. Okay. And then they're cool. You can bill them and you can get someone to fix it for you. But if you have no idea, you're not going to know what to quote people when repairs come up. You're also not going to know for your budgeting. Like, if you're maintaining buildings and stuff, you need to know how much you need the budget to do repairs or to fix stuff. Or if I know I need to blow out a kitchen, I need to know how much money to save up for it. It's going to cost me 5 grand or 20 grand. Well, if I've done a few kitchens, I'm going to know, hey, you know, they cost about $10,000 to $15,000 most likely. And I have a few guys that I work with that do really good work. I'm going to have those guys come out. I'm going to have them bid, and I'm going to pick the best price out of them. But I know that they're reliable and they're people that are trustworthy, because that's a big issue with contractors. Not all of them, but there's a lot of people that are not very trustworthy. I know I was talking to my friend, and he got in some trouble and he was going to get a felony. And I said, wow, aren't you worried you're not going to be able to work anymore? He works in construction. And he says, nah, I don't care. It's no big deal. It won't affect me at all. I thought, wow, that's cool. He had a really cavalier attitude about it. And I said, why don't you care? Aren't you worried about your job? He makes like 50 bucks an hour as, union carpenter. And he says, oh, because most of the people that work in construction have a criminal history. I said, really? I had no idea. And I started asking around about the guys that helped me. And yeah, a lot of them do have criminal histories. That doesn't mean they're bad people, but I kind of understand why a lot of them go into construction now. Because if you have a felony or you have a criminal record, anywhere you apply for a job, it asks, do you have a criminal record? And you're probably not going to get the job. You're probably going to get jobs that are like maintenance or cleaning or working at McDonald's. jobs that probably don't pay very well. So nobody wants a low-paying job, I mean, if you can avoid it. So what they do is they gravitate towards construction, because construction is hard work and it pays well. And they don't check your background. They'll pretty much take everybody. They'll take people that don't have immigration papers. They'll take people with criminal records, you name it. There's no kids around, so there's a lot of barriers that are overcome by doing construction. It's also kind of a fragmented industry where you're kind of picking up and using workers as needed. So it's an easy way to slip through the cracks and avoid some of the issues that come with having a criminal record. So keep that in mind, because some of the most difficult people I've met are construction workers. Yeah, I've had a lot of issues with people stealing stuff, not completing the work. I do not pay in advance. Never do that. They're always going to tell you, okay, I need a deposit. I need 10%. I need half the money up front. No, don't do that under no circumstances. I've paid tons of people, they walk away. They disappear, they'll block me on their phone. Don't do that. Or they'll start working and they'll do a little bit of work and they'll say, hey, I want some more money. I say, well, I already paid you half. You know, it's a $20,000 project. I paid you $10,000. You work for a day. Yeah, I need some more money for my workers. And if you don't pay them, they hold you hostage. They won't do the work. So never pay up front. Pay as they go. Tell them, hey, you know, as you finish work, we'll set milestones and I'll pay you. Pay in arrears. Let them work a couple days. Nobody gets paid every day. People will usually get paid like once a week or something. If they need to get paid twice a week, that's cool. Let them work 3 days and pay them for the work they did. Another 3 days, pay them for the work they did. If you're not sure, let's say you're doing a $10,000 project and they said, ask them, they said it's going to take about 10 days to do. In your mind, you know you should be paying them about $1,000 a day, assuming they're staying on track. So if you see the work's about halfway done, 5 days have went by, then you know you owe them about $5,000. So give them $5,000. Keep paying them as they do work. You don't want them to get upset with you by not paying them either. You don't want them chasing after you for money. That's not cool. People have bills to pay, they have families. So you also have to be conscious of that, but you have to protect yourself. Do not pay up front. Make sure you have contracts and make it very detailed. Make sure you explain everything so you don't have difficulties. And if you get into problems, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I have a lot of contractors that try to bully me. Tell them they're going to burn my house and they're going to beat me up and all sorts of stuff. Just ignore all that stuff and communicate through text so that you can show it to the police if you need to. Tell them, hey, this guy's threatening me. They'll come over and they'll have a talk with them and make sure they're not doing that. You need to make sure that you take care of yourself and you don't let people bully you. Because I run into a lot of people trying to bully me. I don't do that. I'm very respectful. I don't go down to that level. You don't want to do that either. Don't reciprocate that negative behavior, but avoid it by being organized and having everything detailed. If you have a contract with everything detailed, it's hard for them to come and argue some of the points of what you should and shouldn't be doing, because you'll have it all explained. So keep those tips in mind and that'll help you be successful with your construction contracts. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please comment below.